Hello everybody. So I don't usually make videos and I usually feel pretty awkward when I do one, but I was driving to get some work done today and thinking about a lot of the things that have been going on in the world and in the news. Things are rapidly changing for a lot of people, and I think it's really moved people to a place of being uncomfortable and being unsure. And yes, we are Christians and we are told, fear not. And I could tell you 5,000 times a day, fear not, fear not. The Bible tells us not to fear. Don't be worried. Everything's going to be okay. And that's true. In the end, if you're a Christian, everything is going to be okay. And you get to go to heaven, right? You get to be with your Lord and Savior and all of the people who have gone before you, and everything will be okay. But it doesn't mean that we don't suffer here on earth. As bad as it is to say it, I mean, it's true. Did Jesus suffer on earth? And was he put through things that he didn't want to go through? He was. And if we want to live a life like Jesus, we should expect to some degree to suffer also. I'm not making this to be a video of, life is horrible and things are just going to get worse. Embrace yourself. There's nothing you can do about it. No, I think that there are different ways, different things that we can take from this and from the situation that we've been put in all across the world. I know that we didn't ask to be put in this situation, but, if you're put in a pot of boiling water, you can either acclimate or you can choose to be miserable. And so I was praying while I was driving and thinking, and a few verses came to me, and I wanted to take a second and share them because I believe and I know that when we ask God for his guidance and when we ask him for wisdom and knowledge to deal with things that we're dealing with or we are going through, he is just and he is faithful and he does what he asks. He does what he says. When we ask, he tells us to knock, right? And he'll answer. And he tells us to seek and we will find. So when we're asking for his guidance, he gives it. We just need to listen for his answer. And sometimes it's unconventional. And it might be in ways that we don't expect. So I wrote a couple of notes because I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget. I want to tell you that we have times in the Bible where the just and unjust go through things together. And so for us to believe that we're a Christian, it's not going to bother us. It might be ignorant. And I don't know. I've prayed a lot about this, and I don't feel like we are supposed to look at this situation that way. I think that we're supposed to use the wisdom that God gives us. We're supposed to make good decisions. And so Romans 13 says, "Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God, the powers that are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation." So I know that governments have put a lot of things in place over the past week, at least here in Ohio. We've been instructed to do social distancing, which really struck me on a spirit level, like, man, are you serious? Like, it's important for us to gather together and to assemble and to testify and to encourage one another and to pray for one another. And I think that through all that has gone on, that's the thing that bothered me the most. And the Lord really spoke to me like, pay attention. I'm doing something here. Something is happening, and you can choose to go along with it and learn from me and ask of me, or you can be bothered by it to a place where you don't receive the things that I have for you while you go through this. So, the kids have been home with their families, and then some of them are home permanently for school not to be back in session. Education is to be done at home, as that's the recommendation that came from the president, that maybe we parents should look into teaching our kids from home. And professional sports have been halted, which I laughed about. I like to watch basketball and coach basketball, but aren't games usually on Sundays? And people will pack stadiums, seats will sell out and the church houses are empty. I just thought that was clever. Like, all right, God, that one was pretty cool. Nice work. So the concert halls are empty even, and rapidly we're being called apart from the world, and we're being made to stay in what I believe was the lifestyle that God truly intended for us in the first place. So we had been happy, that the houses of worship were allowed to still be operational and that they were kind of excluded from the government's guidelines, but that's not the case anymore. So I know that in the garden, how many people were there in the beginning? There was one, right? There was Adam, and then God gave him a helpmeet, and then there was Adam and Eve, and there were only two of them. But we can read that, I wrote this verse down because I didn't want to quote it wrong. Matthew 18:20 tells us, where 2 or 3 are gathered together in his name, he is in the midst. And I think oftentimes we think of this as a church or as a church house or a place of worship, but we don't really realize that it's our family unit also, or maybe foremost. A husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, a mother and a child, a father and a child. That's 2 people. Like anytime it's you and someone else, and you're gathered in his name, learning of him, speaking of him, serving him, worshiping him, he is there with you. So you're not alone. Because you can't go to a church house doesn't mean you can't have church. I mean, just last week, I had to call people to come and pray for my daughter because she was so sick. I didn't think that I could get her to a hospital. I knew I couldn't get her to a hospital, not in time, because we conveniently live like an hour from real civilization in any direction. And it was one of those, okay, God, I know that you have said that if I'm here and I have someone with me and we gather in your name for you, we're serving you, that you're here too. And I really needed him to prove that to me. Not because I didn't believe it, but because it was a dire situation. And you know what? He did. And she was healed. She had been sick for 7 weeks. And no doctor would believe me, apparently, that she was sick and fevered and things were not looking good and they weren't looking up. But be encouraged. You don't need to go to the house of worship if it is unlawful to have church. You have your family, you have your parents, you have your children. Take advantage of the faith of a child because it is unmatched by the faith of any human I have ever met. The faith of a child. They come to the Lord with total faith and love and adoration and expectation, and it makes such a huge difference. And whatever is going on, whatever you're praying for, asking for, because in their mind, God said he would do it, he's going to do it. They're not jaded by the world yet. Old to be as a child, right? So, there were a couple other things that I wanted to mention. We haven't been forbidden to be with our families and spend time with them. And Hebrews 13:5 says, let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. So whatever situation we're in, no matter how bleak it looks, no matter how sad everyone around us is, God is not going to forsake you. If you are his child, he will not leave you. Think of it if you're a parent, or if you're not a parent yet, but you have people who are close to you who have children. If your child comes to you and says, I'm suffering, I need you and I need your help, are you going to turn them away? Absolutely not. You love them, right? You may not be able to give them everything they want, flashy car, brand new electronics, those stupid expensive tennis shoes teenagers seem to love. No, you might not be able to do that, but you can give them what they need. You can ensure their survival. You can give them the tools that they need to be happy. Our God does the same thing for us. You think of the best earthly parent you can possibly think of, God does better than that. So Hebrews 12:1-2 says, wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witness, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. So we have angels all around us, and they're watching over us. They're praying for us if we ask for them to pray for us, or ask God to allow them to. We need to run with patience whatever's before us. Jesus endured the cross, the ridicule, the shame, being mocked, tortured, tormented, all these things he went through. His countenance was not sad, you know, he wasn't upset. I mean, he was upset. He cried in the garden. He asked if there would be another way, but he realized that this is what was in front of him and he needed to go through it. So this is the world we live in right now, and it may be better in 4 days, maybe better in 4 months. It may take 4 years. This recession may lead to a Great Depression, and we may be thankful that we took advantage of enjoying the time that we had our kids home with us and teaching them the ways of their ancestors and the things that we know, because they may very well need it for their survival. So I know that a lot of kids have been sent home from school for a while or for the rest of the year. So I believe we should remember in Psalm 127, 3-5, it says, "Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of thy womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that has his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with enemies in the gate." Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it." And I believe that we need to take the time to not only teach our children while they're home with us and teach them maybe the things, you know, that they're not being taught in public school, which is sad, but they're not taught of God. It's for the most part a godless thing, and learn from them. God tells us, you know, if we don't be converted and become as little children, we're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven. So become as a child, be encouraged, know that whatever we're going through and whatever the world is going through, God knows about it. He hears you, he listens to you, and he loves you.